think we can wrap it up in 30 minutes. And it also makes the value per second even higher, because we are all about trying to squeeze as much value in as little time as possible. So we're experimenting with seeing if we can get this done in 30 minutes. And we are doing this to document the journey towards like 10,000 per month in monthly recurring revenue. And we are running different strategies on that. And we're just kind of like sharing what's happening, what we're doing along the way. And these are the times where we're like, okay, this is the game plan. This is what happened last week. This is what's happening this week. This is what we're executing on. And things are not always going according to plan. And like today is one of those days. But that's part of the journey. And I think seeing that seeing this like messy in between is something that personally I was always missing when watching other creators. And even if we look at like Alex Hermosi, he said he started like documenting the whole journey, but he already started documenting when he was like way inside and like making money, um and being already relatively successful. So it's like, okay, like how early can we start with that? And that's kind of what we're doing here, documenting the journey. And in this live call specifically, or in these live calls in generally, we want to start with a breathwork session, because this generally centers us in the present moment. It allows us to stay focused, set an intention for the call, and really show up as our highest self in that way. And Lucas is going to say a few more things when we do start with the session. But after that, we're going to talk about specifically the roles. So each week, I'm producing 3 videos that I think of as quests. So depending on where you are on your journey, these quests will probably could be your next step that you have to take in order to get the results that you want to get. And we're going to take one of these and dive a little bit deeper. So today we're talking about what responsible responsibilities each of these different roles have. So we're gonna dive into that, and at the end we're gonna open it up for just general discussions, questions, and going into future plans, where we're headed, what we're currently working on, and what's happening. So last time we were talking a lot about the onboarding. We now onboarded a bunch of people, but I'm gonna give a update on that in just a second and let Lucas take over and guide us through this breathwork session, so we can like recenter and really show up with full awareness and presence.
Thank you, Lucas. So, yeah, this is specifically designed for anyone who is breathing. So, if you're breathing, you're in the right place. I really love breathwork because, like Lucas said, like this is a journey. It's about documenting that journey. And along every single step of the journey, your breath is there with you. And your breath actually regulates your nervous system. It's on this feedback loop with your mind. When you're stressed, you have shallow breaths, right? You're just breathing into the top 20% of your lungs, and it's creating this sort of fight or flight sensation. And that then creates more anxiety or stress. The opposite is also true. When you're taking deep breaths into the bottom of your belly, then you're activating your rest and digest, this calm sort of state within you. And so by sort of being attentive and actively being conscious of how we are breathing, we're able to switch our state immediately. You could turn that music a bit down. So, today we're just going to have a short little session in which we are doing this breathwork practice that I use whenever I find myself, like, catch myself in a stress state before entering into like a deep working session. If I'm going into like something that I'm nervous, essentially, it's the fastest way to come back to your homeostasis, your natural state. So, it's called the physiological sigh, popularized by Andrew Huberman, and I just love to share it with people because it's so useful. So we're going to start with just sitting in a very comfortable place and put one hand on your belly and one hand on your chest. And I can demonstrate here. So our main breathing muscle is the diaphragm. It's right here. It separates your thoracic organs, which is like your heart and your lungs, your fight or flight organs, from your digestive organs. And so when you breathe in deeply, when you take a full deep breath, you can feel your stomach expanding. Feel that now. A lot of us have been breathing. It's like we're living while holding our breath. And so on your next exhale, I want you to really let go of everything. So, with one hand on your heart, on your chest, one hand on your belly, feeling comfortable. If you want, you can close your eyes or soften your gaze and just tap into breathing into your lower hand. Really feeling your belly fully expand and then fully let it out. Good, just like that. So now we're going to add another element. In addition to breathing fully into our belly, we're going to take a second inhale into our chest. So it'll sound something like this. And then let it out with an elongated, extended exhale. Let's do that a few more times. Into the belly, into the chest, and let it go. Into the belly, into the chest, and let it go. You really want an active, activating inhale, and then a passive, relaxing exhale in which you just let it go. We're waking up our system as we inhale and elongate the exhale. We really want full deep breaths into the bottom of your belly, filling up to the top of your lungs on every breath. Keep going at your own pace. How much more can you breathe in? How much more can you activate? Feel into your body. What's going on here? Good. Now we're going to take a final inhale, fully breathing in, and we're going to do a breath hold at the top. So here we go. Empty everything out and breathe in fully. Little sip of air at the top and hold your breath. Find that peace, find that stillness, and relax. Any tension that's coming up, relax. Keep going. Just be in this moment. Whenever you feel the urge to breathe, you can let it out with a gentle sigh and pause for a moment at the bottom, being present. Take a moment for yourself. Connect with your intention for the day. Who do you want to show up as? What are you here to do? Who are you becoming? Let's take one last full breath together, inhaling deeply. And then just let it all go with a sigh. With your next breath, let that inner smile come to your face, and you can open up your eyes, and we can have an excellent game of life call here.
Oh, nice. um yeah, it's always like such a different state that we're in, because when we are in this day to day, we are always trying to achieve something, to get somewhere. And something, an experience that I made for myself is, if I'm trying to do something and I'm just like being present, usually things work out just fine. And sometimes having that reminder that there isn't really something that we can achieve anyways, and all journeys lead to the same destination, because in the end we all die. But the importance is like, how do we get to that destination? Like, how do we get there? Do we get there by cheating ourselves through life, by taking advantage of others, by trying to taking as much as we can? Or do we give to others? Do we um accept that like we are here to like be of service, to help people, to see how we can generally connect and give something back? So that's what we want to do here with these game plans, to not just show our game plan, but to also to help everyone here to share where they're currently at along the journey, to think about how can we really work together and play together as one community, because in the end that's the beauty of community. It's not just one person who says like this is the way and that's where you have to go, but it's more about like everyone has different strengths and abilities. And Lucas, for example, is great at doing these breath works and like really resetting the nervous system, and Sophia is great in thinking about reward systems and coming up with merch ideas. Like soon we'll get to the point where we can, like, depending on what kind of class you're choosing, we'll be able to send you a bow or a shield or like a wizard staff. So I'm super excited for that, and that's where we are going. But there's still a journey to go. And I, at the moment, think about establishing language. And I think in the beginning of a community, that is key to shift the identity of people, of the people within the community, and make sure that they're not getting lost along the way. So last time we were really looking into the onboarding process on like, okay, how do people go from one stage to another? How do they get to meet the team? How do they um, kind of move through these different aspects of community, especially if they're new to school? It's like, how do they use school? How do they check out the classroom? How do they start commenting? And today I just want to share these next steps and also go a little bit deeper into the different classes, because not just the different communities, but I think um, all um, all members within the community are having these different roles. So let me quickly just set this up and then share the screen. So what we're currently doing is going through these different responsibilities. So, whether you've seen the video or not, personally, I obviously recommend doing that. But I also came up with this slide where we can kind of go through the content and just talk a little bit about this and talk about the things different classes would be doing on a daily, weekly, and monthly basis. And I think starting to schedule these in is super important to just be more consistent with um, our roles. So let me zoom in a little bit, make it. Is this like good to read or is it too small?
No, looks good to me.
Nice. All right. Um, Yeah, so all of that is explained in the video on the post, so you can like go through that. But yeah, I'm curious, you guys, like, I'm not sure if you've like seen the video before, but when you look at these different activities on a daily, weekly, monthly basis, like, what do you think? Like, because like we haven't really talked about this, so I want to start this conversation and just chat about it, whether, because like I'm just figuring out as I'm going as well. and I think together we can always make it better as well. And sometimes we just need a different perspective on the same topic. So, what do you guys think?
Yeah, to me, it looks really well. I would say it's very simple and easy to understand because I just went through these myself for the first time. So, looks great. I love that it's very distinct with attract, convert, and deliver. So, that makes a lot of sense to me personally. So, yeah, yeah, I love it. I also think that it's worth mentioning that sometimes people can be hybrids. So
Mm.
you can have like several roles in your main role. So yeah.
Yeah, I'm still struggling with the hybrid aspect because when you're starting a business, you technically have to do all of them.
Yeah.
But I think if you do all of them, that may be the reason why the business isn't growing. Because, like, even though you may have to do all of them, I don't think anyone can do all of them at like an exceptional level. So,
Yeah, that also makes a
I
lot of sense.
I really like this setup. I think, like you're saying, when you're starting out, you kind of just need to have that structure of what do I need to do every single day. And I think, well, you start at the start, right, which is attracting the people. So whether that's ideation, creation, or posting, I think there is some crossover between the knights and the rangers. And so, but at the start, that's really what you want to be doing. You want to be having the conversations with the people and letting people know about what you have. And so, really, in that game of life, I do like how you have that daily structure where it's just automatic. You wake up, you do, 100 of these, the rule of 100 or the rule of 300 of whatever that daily task is, and then you can kind of then work on the other roles that you need. But whatever the focus is, this kind of breaks it down of like, right now I'm not getting customers, so what do I need? I need to attract them and I need to convert them. And then so that's what you do on a daily basis, and then on the weekly basis also, you have those deep work sessions, which are so important today, to have deep work time where you can dive into a task and really do it effectively and efficiently.
no. Yeah, I think these deep work sessions are really key. And something that I want to highlight that you said is it's really a need base, right? Like, where are you currently at in your business? And if you follow, for example, the synthesizer roadmap, like creating content is something that you should not worry about initially until you get your first clients. Because the content thing just gives scale to the business. But when you're starting out, you don't really need that scale. Do you guys no? Okay. For some reason, I lost your visual, but you're still there. Um, so that's why I'm thinking like if you're really starting out, I think you would want to do as much of the ranger's job as possible until you get your first client, and then you do the wizard's work for them, and then from there, like once you have delivered the projects, you can either say, well, do I want like one more client, or do I want many more clients? And sometimes you may not want more clients because like the client that you have, if you do like a really good job, maybe they do some word of mouth, and you don't even ever have to do touch these two ever again, because by just delivering exceptional services to the people that you're already working with, like they do these different aspects for you. And I think this is what I want to focus a little bit more on, is to think about how can you really do one of these things that you're really good at and that you enjoy without having to do these other things. Because like since we are in a community and we're working together, there are some people who are really good at sales, and like those are the rangers that just enjoy talking and building trust with people. There are other people who really enjoy creating content, being in front of a camera, and kind of like building up this following. And then other people just kind of like want to to work on the things and like get people results and be more on the operation side of things. And I think if you lean in on your strength, then you'll probably find people who have this as a weakness. And this way, I really want to encourage you to think about like which of these you're strong at, because like yes, when you're starting out in the business, then like technically you have to do all of them, but we're not starting just a regular business. Like we are in the community game. And the beauty of the community game is that we don't have to do it alone anymore. We can rely on others. We can collaborate. We can see who is already having a big following and seeing if they want to partner up. We can see who is already enjoying just like talking, engaging people, and just tell them that like there is a amazing affiliate bonus that you have for your community. And I think from that, that's kind of like what I want to hone in on, because I spend like I'm kind of going back and forth on that, but like I spend a lot of time trying to learn sales without me actually enjoying sales. And like I don't regret doing that, but I feel like if I had just stick with one thing and focused on this one thing and gotten really good at that, um it would help me more than trying to like learn all the other things. If you're trying to build like a really big business, then I think there is a point about saying like you should know each of these roles, especially when it's always rough to hire someone for a role that you have no idea about. But going beyond the basics, I think generally it makes more sense to focus on your strength. Would you agree with that?
I would. I do like the point that you mentioned about leaning into your strengths. And I feel like generally each entrepreneur is going to try out each of those roles at some point. So I feel like it's about actually learning what you think is the best for you. So at some point, everybody's a hybrid. So, but yeah, I do like, again, the idea of leaning into your strengths and actually choosing your specific role, and then having other people who are experts at the other stuff that you have a weakness in, have them fill out those roles for you.
Yeah. I like that
Yeah,
aspect that everyone is a hybrid at some point.
I think that this is, the continual question of like specialization versus generalization. And I think for the work in your professional life, like we live in such a hyper-connected world that like you want to be good, you want to be the best at what you do. Naval has this quote like, be the best at what you do and keep redefining it until it's true. So like do something, do it well, and then just change it until like you are that one best person out of all of humanity who can do it better than anyone else. So in that case, I do think specialization, leaning into your strengths, into your curiosity, into your interests is the way to go. Now the generalization is like we are not one-dimensional creatures, human beings. Like we have our relationships, our health, our purpose, our vision, our love, all of these other things. And so in that, I feel like playing on your weaknesses, like for that, it's more of like the generalist of being a full embodied human, just in the broader scope of your life, be a generalist, a healthy generalist across the areas of your life. In your work, be a specialist so you can really give the most value per second, right?
I
Love
really like
that.
that.
Yeah.
Yeah, being generalistic in your life overall, but like when it's about your income, your profession, your career, having one thing that you're really good at. Because like you generally want to experience life very broadly, but there's probably one thing that you really want to dive deeper into. So that's a great point. So we're already at the end of things. So I just kind of like want to wrap up and go into the different direction, also what we've been working on. So something like the current content schedule that we are taking on is posting 3 times a week, and I consider these as different quests. So depending on where you are at your journey, these quests could be the next step that you need to take to reach whatever goals that you want to reach. So, for example, yesterday there was a post about a fictional book called He Who Fights with Monsters, which explains what we're trying to do here with the community, because it um you can like go and check out the post. It's one of my favorite fictional books, and generally learning from fiction is something that I feel like really helps with the mindset. So if you feel like you're overwhelmed with the current situation of like AI and like what the future holds, I think reading fiction helps a lot with that, because it lets you zoom out and get perspective on things again. While we also do some non-fiction books. So, for example, next week we're gonna have 100 million leads as a summary. So, if you're struggling to get leads, then this would be a quest for you to kind of like dive into. So what we want to do is give you a trailer for different things that you can do. It's like, hey, you could read this fictional book, or you could read this nonfiction book, or you could practice yoga, which was the video from last Thursday. Or this Thursday, I'm going to go a little bit deeper into Notion. So you can get excited about that as well. And we're trying to really lay out the foundation on like all the different steps that you can take. And specifically with the community, since we have gone through the onboarding last time, we have noticed that people are not yet at the point where they actually message Sophia about the mystery gift. I think you had like one person reaching out to you, Sophia.
Actually, two.
Ooh,
So
two,
yeah, I
nice.
got
Okay.
a message just today before the call.
Nice. So it is getting along, but sometimes people need a bit of a nudge as well. So something that I started doing now is messaging people and like, hey, I noticed that you haven't started the onboarding. And something that I'm also starting to do is like when I know the people and they have expertise, I encourage them to also start posting in the community. So that's currently where we're at on like really building the community, on thinking about the onboarding, and now it's mostly about getting the members to do the posting, because like I don't want to be like, or as the community owner, generally we don't want to be the ones posting all the time, because it's not about us, it's about the people in the community. So the way that I see it is just kind of like giving new input that other people can run with, and kind of like share their own insights and ideas, and things like, okay, what role are you, like what responsibilities are you taking on, how do you schedule your day, do you create content in the morning or the afternoon, do you reach out to people in the afternoon or in the morning? So that's where we're currently at. We're gonna continue sharing this story and this journey, and we're gonna dive into the school news now. Um, what do you guys think? Should we stream that and just say like, if someone complains, they do complain, or cut it off here?
I don't know. We did it before, so I don't know.
But we haven't recorded it live yet.
It is true, though. It is. I mean, we could try if there is something that we are not allowed to. I feel like, I mean, you never know if you don't try, so that's my motto. So,
That's true.
yeah.
Okay.
I'm
You
gonna have
may
to
be.
jump though, because yeah, I need to go and have my lunch because I haven't eaten all day because I was in meetings all day.
Yeah, I can relate to that.
Yeah.
What about you, Lucas? You want to watch the school games, or you gotta bounce too? Or the school news,
Um,
the school games?
Yeah.
my mic.
You're like lagging a lot.
Yeah, your connection is not the best. Okay, I think it's a sign. Let's just cut it here. That
Okay.
was like a shorter version for today. Giving like a quick update for next week. We want to get the mystery gift ready. It's currently a way to distinguish between these different roles, and maybe even attaching a bit of a bigger gift to that. We're still working
Yeah.
on that. And otherwise, yeah, continue enjoying the journey while playing this game.
Yeah.
Peace.
See you in the community.